first round of Bahrain testing is complete, and we've got some opinions. All right, boys, we're back. We're back, and we've had some. It's been an interesting week in F1, has it not? Has it not been quite an interesting week in F1? We had 3 livery releases right at the beginning of the week, and then, of course, went directly into Bahrain testing. We'll do the second half of our livery reveal later, but I think it's totally worthwhile for us to discuss some of the things that have gone on in testing, not necessarily interrelated into like, oh, what are the lap times people are putting in? I think that is completely irrelevant compared to other news that has come out. I wanted to start on this topic specifically because for weeks now, there has been the whole compression ratio debacle that it looks to now be plaguing Mercedes, and the fact that there's other teams rallying against the testing process with the engine, and basically as it's cold, which is what they are testing under. Now there's multiple teams, including Red Bull, who had thought they'd figured out the same thing Mercedes had figured out and didn't, is now rallying with the likes of Audi and a couple other teams to suggest, hey, what's going on with the Mercedes car? We don't want that to be allowed. And I think it's going to do 2 things. And the reason I want to start with the Mercedes thing is because this has been in the news for weeks now. But just recently, and I believe it was the first day of testing, appeared to be that the Red Bull looked more favorable on track than the Mercedes did for a couple different reasons. But I wanted to get your guys' take specifically on the Mercedes compression issue as it relates to we're going through the first week of testing, then there's going to be another week of testing. Boys, then we're right into the season. So what do you think is going to happen, or how do you think this is affecting Mercedes so far?
JW, you want to go? So to me, it's just, it's pretty simple. It's honestly, that's that 16-1 ratio compression loophole is, it's more confusing to think that other teams have figured it out than it's more of a kind of early onset gray area, if you catch my drift. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's more people playing around, more teams playing around with it, and it's just the jeopardy of FIA actually doing something about it, versus other teams kind of figure, like, you guys obviously understand this conversation is centered that based on the precept that we live under a matrix and we are controlled. This is happening with the FIA. This is happening with Formula 1. Dude. So 100%. I don't know what to, like, I think Aston Martin is full of crap, and I think they're purposely performing the way they're performing. I think Red Bull actually has a legit energy deployment strategy that they're freaking hiding, efficiency that they're hiding, and I think that Mercedes is by far more efficient on the 16-1 compression ratio that they're showing. I think they're intentionally allowing teams to understand how they can imitate that, and then they're just gonna come and do like a freaking 32-1 compression ratio. That's it. It's all crazy. It's all crazy.
I love that take. JW, what are your thoughts? I have so much of what I want to say, but I gotta let JW get it out.
All right. In terms of the compression ratio, I think the FIA is going to end up allowing it. What's the point? Honestly, like, you're really gonna go head to head against the F1 team. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not happening. However, I think this is for a later topic. I do agree with everything that Alex just said. I think there is a lot of sandbagging going around right now, and part of me gets pissed about it, but the other part of me is like, oh, I can't wait for free practice 1 in Melbourne to see what the cars really look like. But yeah, I agree. I think the FIA is not going to end up doing anything, and I think if you're crying about a 16-1 compression ratio, I think you need to kick rocks. So yeah,
oh boy, I have so many mixed opinions here. I do think they're sandbagging. I think they're sandbagging on the behalf of Mercedes because there is pressure right now. I think Toto Wolff is saying what he's saying to try to go like, listen, it's not that much of an advantage. I think even George Russell came out and said, he was like, guys, it's only like 1 to 2 horsepower advantage. So there's a lot of deflection right now to kind of take away
2 to 3
to the severity of what it could be when they're on track racing. So you see Toto Wolff doing that. You see George Russell doing that. And part of me thinks, I don't know, I have the opposite opinion of them. I think the FIA is going to do something. I think they have such a force mounted at this point with other teams that I don't want it to, and I don't think it's fair, because here's what I think Mercedes did. Mercedes did exactly what any other team would have done. They exposed something, and the whole idea of these new regulations is for teams to explore and be experimental with building new cars. Look at the Frankenstein that is Aston Martin. They're doing things so uniquely different, and Mercedes is just taking what they were given and doing so lockstep with the FIA. Every single day they came up with something that said, we're doing this, and we're doing testing. It's not like they were doing things and trying to hide it. They've been very honest about their approach. And I think that's the fun of F1, is the creativity that you can inject into the process. Okay, so what? Other teams didn't figure it out. I remember there being a hilarious quote from the likes of, I believe it was Christian Horner, where he said something along the lines, if you don't like your car, I think he said, change it. And he said that to Toto Wolff, and now Toto Wolff's coming in.
You got a problem, change your
car. And now Toto Wolff's on the other end of it, and everybody's going, whoa, 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 whoa. He's figured it out, and everybody else is going, no, you can't do that. I think it's such an interesting thing that's going on right now. And we'll see what happens. I honestly, I think the FIA is going to be problematic for Mercedes.
But I think, honestly, there's so much inconsistency. Like, it begins with the FIA itself changing the method on how to measure the compression ratio.
Yeah.
So if you're starting by like an inconsistency in changing the methods, like what's going to happen next if they do rule out against it? Like if they figure out, I just think there's further advancements in efficiency and understanding loopholes that will 100% bypass. I think if they're openly giving and yielding this, they've got something so much bigger under their sleeve. I just think it's
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I feel it feels filthy for whatever reason to me right now. In my gut, it feels filthy. And that being said, and we'll switch the topics. We'll go into, so we're on Toto Wolff and we're on Mercedes. So I believe it was testing first day where Toto Wolff suggested that was an advantage to Red Bull because of the way Max Verstappen was able to manage the power. And essentially what he was done in terms of, I'm hoping that I have this correct, was he's able to brake late into the turns, shift into first gear, thus regenerating the power quickly, and then getting back on the power into the straights, which has given them, according to Mercedes, a 1 second advantage. Now, I don't know if this is a Ford power unit thing or if this is what we're seeing as far as like Max Verstappen just being the man. It sounds like maybe it's a combination of both.
I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah, me too.
And he's able to do something relatively unrestricted in that car, which would be kind of restricted for, it seems like, other drivers. He's able to manage through that, get that extra power deployment, and he's tacking on a second and a half advantage in comparison to the Mercedes car.
I think and it's funny because this is one of the big things I wanted to touch on today, which is Max's comments on the 2026 regulation car. Max is not happy one bit. And he's not the only vet that isn't. Lewis isn't happy with the cars. Fernando is really not happy with the way the cars drive. But going back to Max,
I'm excited to see how you're going to finish this, because your boy Lando,
that's exactly where I'm going. That's exactly where I'm going.
I want to see how you back up the Generation X or Y, whatever generation.
Oh, no, it's easy. Max is in every single right to complain about the cars. Every single driver is. However, did Lando lie in what he said?
Lando said a very political response.
Exactly.
He was very political about it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more of a deceiving concept to anything that comes out from a politician or something a politician or anything politically backed or said or founded. So what Lando said,
what you think Lando got writing notes?
He said something to defend the fact that he's the world champion.
Yeah.
He's the world champion, right? That's for starters. And second, he hasn't had the time that the traditional drivers have been driving these cars for so, like, he hasn't had the time that Lewis has. He hasn't had the time that Max has. So it's rougher for these guys to come here and not complain versus the defending world champion that's trying to be an ally to the sport, that's trying to gain more fans, that's trying to obviously defend his title. Is he wrong? Honestly, if you're transforming a Formula One sport into Formula E slowly but surely, and I don't care how snappy or sassy the Formula E's chairman comments were, come and drive it here. Nah, dude, nobody wants to go drive it there. Formula E was in Miami 2 weeks ago. You couldn't have paid me to go there. You could have paid me a lot of money to go there because I don't care. I can't hear your cars. I cannot hear them. So I 100% agree with Max, and obviously, that's my sentiment. And no matter how hard or how political you want to be, Lando, with your response, dude, you're wrong. You're just objectively wrong.
So I think it's at the end of the day, Max is, like I said, in his right to complain about the cars. If I was in his shoes, I'd be doing the exact same thing. With that said, I don't think there's anything wrong with what Lando said. And I mean, at the end of the day, and we've talked about this on the pod multiple times, boys, Max has talked about leaving Formula One at some point.
Okay.
Now, do I think that if either two things are happening, either Max is sandbagging big time because he is the guy that's figured out how late to go on the brakes,
allegedly, and so far, allegedly, and so far, allegedly, and so far, correct.
Exactly. Or he really isn't happy with these cars and he's going to give this season a shot and then he's going to go into endurance racing.
I knew you were going to say this, and I have a reply for you.
Go for it.
It's late 90s, right? Late 90s. Let's call it 96, 97. Kobe, Shaq, all these dudes, LeBron's, however much we want to hate him, haven't entered the league, right? Jordan is threatening to leave the game, right? He had a political complication with Dave Stern at the time, right? It was a structural negotiation between the league and Jordan to go the first time. Let's say this happens the second time. Would you allow Jordan to walk if you knew?
Oh no.
If you knew, would you try your absolute best to protect the interests of Jordan's and maybe the Shaqs? Right? You know who I'm referring to. You know the parallelism that I'm trying to create here. Would you try to protect those, or would you try to kind of go along with the Wades? I don't even want to tell you who's in between the Kobes, the LeBrons, all these dudes that would be the Kimi Räikkönens of the world, of the F1 world. There are none. You cannot compare Lando Norris's one world title and the 95%
of course you can.
Of the field with veterans and legends of the sport. So, quite frankly, I would be insanely compelled to keep the legends and the veterans and the guys that drive 70% of the viewership and the revenue.
That goes without saying, dude. I agree 100%. What I'm saying is Max is in his right to complain about the cars. Do I think this is going to bring change to the cars? Honestly, no. I don't think so. I think these teams have put in so much damn money into developing these cars that telling them, oh, we can go back to the 25 regulations. That's not happening. No chance in hell. I think Lando's in his right to say what he said? But I do agree. Like, you have to keep Max. You have to keep Lewis. You have to keep Fernando. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
I think therein lies a bit of the struggle, at least from what I see, is that you have Max Verstappen making a statement as somebody who has earned enough right within the sport to make that statement. The Lando Norrises of the world, and even George Russell made a comment after Bahrain testing was over, similar to Lando Norris is, as far as like, well, if Max wants to leave, then have fun in your GT series, like, c'est la vie. But like, if you're the FIA and you're F1, if you're Liberty Media, you're not looking at going like, well, if Max Verstappen doesn't like it, then see you later, Gator. It's like, no, you're going to protect the interests of the sport. Max Verstappen is a pillar of the
Fernando.
sport.
See you, Max.
Exactly.
We'll just have fun with Lando and George Russell. It's going to be a great season.
Let's just get a great
season.
Come on, guys, more rookies.
So much money from ad revenue.
Yeah, another rookie class. Get another rookie class in here that we can develop over time. I think what the struggle is going to be is when you have the likes of a Lewis Hamilton that said he's felt less grip in this car than any other car that he's driven. You have Fernando Alonso losing his shit after he gets out of the car. You have Max Verstappen, who is expressing some serious concern as far as the drivability of the car. Now, Max is going to figure out how to operate the car, but it doesn't mean he's going to like doing it. He's already mentioned that, right? And I think this is the crossroads that we're at with this particular, at the start of this new regulation. I do feel, and I'm making a bold prediction here, and it could be, and it's somewhat of an aimless prediction. I think this will be one of the shortest regulation sets we see. I don't think it'll last long. And for me, and it's not even because of driver complaints.
This needs to be a short. This is a very important one. This is a very important one.
I just feel that the direction that they're trying to go in, it's almost like they're blending two incompatible worlds together, being the nimble, trying to create the aggressive nimbleness of the car, but then also trying to do, okay, well, we want to make sure that we have power distribution both from battery and from combustion. And oh, by the way, we need the sustainability factor as well. That's Formula E. Sustainability is Formula E.
Thank you.
Those two worlds are converging. And if you really want to create a separation in the sport, which Max already mentioned, you have to literally separate the two from each other. Formula E and Formula One, and they shouldn't have similar components. Period. Because they're both becoming very close to one another. And I think that's, when Max says, hey, it's looking more like Formula E, and then you get the chairman's like, oh, just come over here. It's like, well, that's not what we want. We want two separate sports. It needs to be two separate sports. So I think that's the interesting crossroads that this regulation brings. And I think for the guys who are more purist drivers, the Verstappens of the world, the Fernando Alonsos and the Lewis Hamiltons that have driven cars that are not under this regulation set or even the previous regulation set, they want the raw racing experience, and they're not being given that. And that's where it's going to be a challenge. And the other drivers, like Lando Norris said, he was like, listen, we get paid millions of dollars to do this. We should all just be happy that we're here. To a degree, if you're Lando Norris and below, but if you're the guys who have experience, which let's count them, boys, 7 world championships from Lewis Hamilton, 4 from Max Verstappen, and 2 from Fernando Alonso. That's more championships combined than anybody else on the grid.
That any of them that wins, probably then wins if you take McLaren aside. Probably then wins.
Yeah,
championship versus wins, literally, dude.
Like literally. So you have 3 powerhouse voices that have a ton of experience. I think someone needs to own up and listen. That's my thought.
You know what's interesting? I was watching a video today of a Nico Hulkenberg on board, which, by the way, Nico's been around almost just as long as the guys that we've just been talking about. Nico's been around for a hot minute. He's been through multiple regulation sets. And you could see him loading up energy as he's going through the last corner. And then you could see that he has full battery.
And then it's gone.
He's not even a third through the main straight. And the battery's absolutely gone.
Yep. I watched that Audi onboard.
How in God's green earth are you going to make this season entertaining?
This season is going to be potentially disaster.
I think it's going to be disaster.
I think it's going to be.
We're going to watch the slowest turns into corners. They're going to hit the apex at about 4 miles an hour, and then they're going to go into the straights, and they're going to have immediate boost. And by the time they're a quarter mile on a long straight, they're all just going to be going slow as shit. They're going to be crawling.
And you know what I just thought about? The safety component of this. This could be really dangerous, too. Imagine those cars going up Eau Rouge at full speed, and then all of a sudden, one of them just loses all of its power. You don't think it's going to cause a damn pileup? Like, Jesus, dude.
I mean,
how
you're
are you
already.
make this
I know it's only the first round of testing, but watching the drivers out there not coming to grips with the car, even on day 3, where they're still doing like pirouettes in the middle of the track, you see a bunch of cars that are trying to late brake and they're trying to get that recharge, that they're just slamming on the brakes and they're skidding. I mean, I watched. Now, this is kind of side related, but they were doing 7 cars were doing a simulated launch. Only 4 of them launched. The other 3 cars just sat there. Franco Colapinto was literally coming up to launch and just spun out. Like, just hit the power and just spun. Just almost like it was a formation lap. And I'm going, this is not a good sign, boys. This is not a good. I grant it. I know it's testing. But if you're doing a simulated formation lap experience to where you're lining up on the grid to get a start and only a handful of the cars actually launch and the other one pirouettes before it even gets done to get on the grid, that's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. They're just not coming to grips with these cars. I think the complexity, and Lewis Hamilton said it, they're overly complex. There's too much to understand and learn. The raw drivability of these cars is long.
And Lewis is in his right to say that. Like, when I saw the quote this morning where he said, it's too complex for the fans to understand. Dude, totally agree. Like, I'm sorry, if you're sitting here and you think that you're going to be able to understand a Formula One car to the same level these drivers do, you're asinine.
Oh, I've tried.
Listen, I've done hours of reading, and I still can't understand a third of it. So, yeah.
Same. Well, it's we've got testing round 2 coming up. So I'm curious to see where I think we'll probably start seeing, like, even I think teams are really starting. They were trying to figure out and get to grips with cars outside of private testing, right? Like, really trying to, like, okay, under certain fuel loads, what is this like? And let's look at braking, and let's make sure we have suspension adjustments correct. I think the next round of testing, you're going to get more simulations of, like, okay, what is qualifying going to look like? And what is, let's actually get some laps under our belt to simulate, like, solid race pace. Like, that's where they're going to, because guys, the first Grand Prix is less than a month away. Like,
20 days away.
It's coming up super fast. So, like, they're going to have to come to grips with these cars. And let's end on this. Aston Martin. Alex, you kind of said it. It sounded like you said they were sandbagging. I feel like Aston Martin's they've got some shit on their hands. I truly believe, given Lance Stroll's statements and Fernando Alonso's reaction, I don't know if they're going to be able to get the time back.
Nothing else to say. I just think Lawrence Stroll is trying to distract people from being on the Epstein files. So I think I just think that's what's going on. I think
they have
a rocket.
He's just like, Lance, just tell him we're 4.5 seconds behind. Divert the attention.
Divert. What's Epstein? What?
That's hilarious. That's really funny. I like that take. All right, boys, let's wrap this up. This is a good one. I'm glad we're able to cover testing, and we'll be able to cover the next round of testing as well once that's complete. And thanks, everybody, for listening. As always, we'll be back at you next time.
We're going to be wearing the same exact thing. Peace.
Lotus, 72. Lotus, 72. É a máquina do tempo e na velocidade.